Welcome back to the Explainer. Okay, today we are completely tearing down everything you thought you knew about keeping mosquitoes off your patio. If you are totally tired of dousing yourself in those sticky, foul-smelling commercial bug sprays only to get eaten alive anyway, you are in the exact right place. We're going to look at the hard science of botanical defense and show you exactly how to transform your outdoor seating area from a literal mosquito buffet into an invisible, plant-powered fortress. Let's get right into it.
We have all been there, right? You light the candles, you spray the aerosols all over, and somehow those relentless mosquitoes still manage to find your ankles. It's so frustrating. Well, the problem usually comes down to how these commercial products disperse in an open outdoor environment. A breeze rolls through, the scent blows away, and boom, you are right back on the menu. But what if the ultimate solution wasn't manufactured in a lab, but grown in a pot? In today's Explainer, we're breaking down actual data from agricultural researchers and entomologists to reveal which potted plants pack the chemical firepower to push mosquitoes out of your yard. And more importantly, we're going to show you how you've probably been using them wrong this entire time.
All right, prepare to have your mind blown by this number, 10. Back in 2001, researchers at Iowa State University's Department of Entomology made a massive discovery. They found that the active compound in catnip, it's a chemical called nepetalactone, is up to 10 times more effective at repelling mosquitoes than DEET. 10 times. And we aren't just talking about your run-of-the-mill backyard pests, but the specific species responsible for transmitting Zika and yellow fever. Later on, a field study out in Uganda totally backed this up, proving that a 6% catnip lotion worked just as well as a 15% DEET formula in real-world high-stakes conditions. Just a quick heads up though, you definitely want to keep that pot elevated or the neighborhood cats will absolutely destroy it before the mosquitoes even show up.
So how does this actually work? Well, it's absolutely crucial to understand that these plants aren't just magically swatting bugs away. They are engaging in highly evolved chemical warfare, using what we call volatile compounds. Think of mosquitoes as tiny heat-seeking missiles. But instead of just tracking heat, they lock on to the carbon dioxide we exhale and the specific chemical signals radiating right off our skin. When plants release these volatile essential oils into the air, things like linalool from lavender or citronella from lemongrass, it literally scrambles the mosquito's radar. It disorients their sensory receptors so completely that they steer clear of the area, totally unable to lock onto you as a target.
Now, this science brilliantly exposes one of the biggest myths you'll run into at your local garden center. It's basically a tale of two plants, true lemongrass versus the scented geranium. On one side, you have true lemongrass. This thing is an absolute powerhouse, packed with genuine citronella. But it gets huge, like up to 6 feet tall, and it needs a massive 15 to 20-gallon pot to really thrive. On the flip side, we have the scented geranium. You've probably seen these heavily marketed in big box stores with tags proudly declaring them the mosquito plant. But here is the secret the industry kind of glosses over. It's not true citronella. It's just a geranium that happens to smell exactly like a citronella candle. While it does have some very minor deterring properties, it completely lacks the raw chemical punch of true lemongrass. So knowing what you're actually buying, that's half the battle right there.
Okay, let's talk about building our actual defense strategy, starting with basil, because basil is a total game changer on our list today. Pretty much every other plant we're going to talk about requires you to physically interact with it to get those defensive oils working. But basil is the absolute exception to the rule. It produces its volatile oils, specifically linalool and eugenol, in such crazy high concentrations that they just slowly and passively evaporate into the warm air all by themselves. Literally, a pot of basil just sitting in the sun on your patio table is continuously working for you, creating this protective aromatic bubble. No touching required. Just remember one crucial maintenance step. Pinch off the flower buds as soon as you see them. You want the plant to keep all its energy fiercely focused on growing those fragrant, protective leaves, not flowers.
Now, if you love to cook, you're in luck, because these next culinary herbs pull double duty. Take rosemary, for example. Research shows its essential oil, which is loaded with camphor and pine compounds, can actually give you up to 8 hours of skin protection against malaria-transmitting mosquitoes. Pretty amazing, right? Then there's mint, which is just absolutely packed with cooling menthol. But hey, a quick warning for my gardeners out there. Mint is a super aggressive spreader. You absolutely have to keep it isolated in a pot, unless you want it completely taking over your entire yard. We've also got lemon thyme, which stays incredibly low to the ground, making it an awesome fragrant filler at the base of your larger patio pots. And finally, lemon balm. It has the exact same potent citronellol compound as that giant tropical lemongrass we talked about, but with one massive advantage: it's cold hardy. That means it will easily survive freezing northern winters and pop right back up roaring in the spring.
But you might be wondering, does simply having a plant nearby actually do anything? Well, for common garden sage, the answer is a definitive yes. Studies have actually shown that just keeping a whole pot of sage near your seeding area reduces mosquito activity by a really impressive 32%. Now, this is a massive deal in the botanical world, because finding rigorous research that proves a whole, untouched plant actively deters mosquitoes on its own is incredibly rare. Usually you need a hyper-concentrated extract. So the fact that a third of the battle can be won just by strategically placing a pot of sage next to your chair, it proves that passive landscape elements really can have a measurable impact, if you pick the exact right species.
Of course, your patio defense doesn't just have to be a sea of green. It can be incredibly beautiful too. Let's look at the colorful defenders. First up, lavender. It pumps out that radar-scrambling linalool we talked about earlier. But remember, lavender absolutely hates wet roots. You've got to use a breathable terracotta pot and let it dry out completely between waterings. Next is bee balm, specifically the dwarf varieties made for pots. It's awesome because it draws in hummingbirds and butterflies, but pushes mosquitoes away with a powerful compound called thymol. Then we have French marigolds. Believe it or not, these actually outperform the showier African varieties for pest control because their pungent foliage naturally emits pyrethroid-like compounds. But guys, the absolute king of the flowers here is the chrysanthemum. Listen to this. Chrysanthemums naturally produce pyrethrin. That is the exact active ingredient used in commercial mosquito foggers, and it is literally the foundation of a billion-dollar natural pest control industry. By growing mums, you are basically growing the active ingredient of bug spray right there in a pot.
Okay, I need to pause the excitement for just a second because this next part is critically important. A lot of older, kind of outdated gardening guides will casually recommend a mint relative called pennyroyal as a natural mosquito repellent. And yes, to be fair, it has incredible raw repelling power. But please hear this warning loud and clear. Pennyroyal is highly toxic. It can be fatal to cats and dogs even with very limited exposure, and its concentrated essential oil has been documented in medical literature as a cause of severe human liver and kidney damage. We are bringing this up not to recommend it, but to loudly wave a red flag for anyone going down the rabbit hole of botanical repellents. If you have pets, if you have kids, keep pennyroyal completely off your property. It is just not worth the risk when you have so many safe alternatives available.
All right, moving on, we have arrived at the absolute climax of today's explainer, the number 62. A super dedicated research team at Clemson University reviewed 62 published, peer-reviewed studies on mosquito-repelling plants. And you know what they found after analyzing all that data? They found absolutely zero evidence that passive landscape plantings alone reduce mosquito activity to a statistically significant degree. Yeah, you heard me right. Sticking a single lavender plant in a corner 20 feet away from your lounge chair does exactly nothing to actually protect you from bites. The science unequivocally shows that the oils inside these plants work absolute wonders, but, and this is a big but, the plant holding the oil has to be utilized correctly for the defense to actually hold up. And that brilliantly illustrates exactly why we need to shift our mindset away from passive decoration and toward an active strategy. So here is your fail-proof battle plan. Step 1. Do not just scatter your pots around the perimeter of the yard. You need to group 3 to 4 of these fragrant plants directly next to where you sit. Keep them well within arm's reach. Step 2, you have to actively release those volatile compounds into the air and onto yourself. Brush past the rosemary when you walk by. Crush a few leaves of catnip or lemon balm in your hands and physically rub those natural oils onto your wrists and ankles before you sit down to relax. You have to activate the plant. And step 3, which is honestly painfully ironic if you forget it, immediately empty the saucers under your pots after it rains. Standing water is exactly where mosquitoes lay their eggs. You really don't want to accidentally build a thriving mosquito nursery while you're trying to build a botanical defense.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Are you going to keep just decorating your patio and hoping for the best? Or are you ready to use this science to build a strategic botanical defense? You now know exactly which plants pack the biggest punch. You understand the chemical compounds that literally scramble a mosquito's radar. And most importantly, you know the physical, hands-on strategies required to make them actually work in the real world. It is time to roll up your sleeves, crush some leaves, and take your outdoor space back. Thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer, and until next time, keep learning and keep growing.